Thank you for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got a two-site Adsense and advertising business for sale in the fashion niche. The first site, purchased in October 2015, was created in May of 2013. The second site, purchased in March 2016, was created in May of 2015. This business makes $2,968 per month in net profit, and the listing number for the site is 43800. We do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. How are you doing today, Joshua?
I'm doing well, Jake. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, all things considered, with impending weather in Florida.
Yeah, it sounds like a loaded question to ask.
Yeah. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from a little more north in Montreal, Canada.
Wow, must be nice.
Yeah, usually we complain about it being too cold, but right now it seems pretty secure, so
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Yeah, it's scary, but at this point, we just all got to hope for the best. Anyway, before we dive into the questions I have for you, I want to run through a quick summary of the business. Again, the two sites were built in May of 2013 and May of 2015.
Yes.
The business has a monthly revenue of $3,029, expenses of $61 to make for a net profit of $2,968, and this is built on a 12-month average. Included in the sale of this business are the domains, site files, and social media accounts, 2 Pinterest accounts, 1 Facebook, 1 Twitter, and 1 Instagram. Joshua, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure. So I am not a very technical person, which will become obvious to seasoned buyers probably right away. I'm more of the guy that says, hey, that would be cool. How do we do that? And then a friend will usually tell me that there's a WordPress plugin for that. So these sites, I can guarantee for whoever buys them, they're both WordPress. They're both very simple to run, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist. So my background is that I did a history degree, actually, probably the opposite of the internet. And then got my first job at an online advertising company in sales. So didn't really learn a lot of technical stuff, but got to talk to a lot of different webmasters and see what was working and what wasn't working. And from there, I decided that it would be better to buy my own websites. So I quit my job and I started to do that.
And when you decided that you wanted to buy some sites, what were some of the criteria that you were looking for?
So the criteria that I was looking for was, one, they have to be simple. Not to make myself sound stupid, but they're not very complicated, JavaScript, Ruby on Rails type sites. They have to be very easily comprehensible. I was looking for sites in a popular niche that I thought would get more and more popular, which these are. And I was looking for something that had very strong traffic and a lot of monetization possibilities, because I'm sure some buyers just stick to one thing that works for them, but I'm always looking for types of sites that have a lot of possibilities, and these sites do. Right now, Adsense is working very well, but there's other possibilities as well that would make a lot more money, but I don't have the particular skill sets for them.
So if you were looking for something with easy track to monetization, and clearly you found that, so why are you selling these businesses?
So I'm selling them because they've been a great experience. To give a little of my backstory, I went with my girlfriend to Lisbon, and we fell in love with Lisbon and fell in love with each other, got married, and now we've decided to start investing and buying property. So I guess I'm going back to my original degree in history. In a deep historical country, I'm getting offline and don't want to be running these websites. They're extremely passive, but I'm more excited to use the income to buy real estate, to get into that.
You said that they're passive. How passive exactly are they? Like how much work is maintenance to you week to week?
Maintenance is almost zero. I guess maintenance is probably about an hour a week. And that maintenance would be to update all the plugins if you don't have them on automatic. If you have them on automatic, then that even takes out most of it. But I don't like to have an automatic just because sometimes one update, won't play well with the other. I want to be online to make sure. So just updating the plugins is part of it. Just checking in on the revenue source and making sure everything is good. I'm not really that useful to the business at this point. It's more just checking to see that everything is going properly. And, where I spend time on the business is when I'm trying to think of ways to change things around. But in terms of just letting it go, it's almost entirely, just like an hour a week on just making sure it's running, essentially.
So I noticed that when talking about it, you said business. And when I guess myself included, when I was reading the business description, and there I said it again, business. So these are two sites and they're separate, correct?
They're separate, yeah.
So how exactly does that model work? So they're two businesses.
Right, yeah. I mean, in my head, I always just think of them as websites. But when I put them on Empire Flippers, you call them businesses, which sounds a lot fancier. So I'm using the term. But yeah, they're two separate websites that are extremely similar, although they have completely their own traffic source.
So they're similar. They're both in the fashion niche. You said they have their own traffic source. Do they help each other out at all?
No, they don't. The traffic source is independent. I mean, there's a couple of links between them, but that's just because it works organically. I don't think it contributed to the traffic at all. It's not how either of them get their traffic. It's just maybe for SEO, but they're 100% different traffic, although very similar websites in the same niche.
And so we've already talked about the work required for maintenance for the sites. How about opportunities? Do you see any big potential opportunities for growth for a new owner?
I do. I see a lot of opportunity. It's like I was telling you right before we started the call, it's really hard to not go into specifics about the URLs and the niche and talk about opportunity. But yes, there's a lot of opportunity. Some of it is extremely easy, and I just haven't done it because I've been distracted. But I could say a few things that would probably make the revenue go up a lot if you have a few days to work on it, which I don't. I'm pretty busy. And then the other opportunities are, like I said, you could definitely increase the AdSense. I've never done any A/B testing even for that. So I'm sure if you just move the AdSense around and used an A/B testing tool, I don't know how much more, but I'm sure you could get a lift on that. But where I see huge opportunity would be, number one, to boost the traffic. And even though they both have strong traffic, in fact, the larger of the two sites is the number one site in that niche. And it's not a very small niche. I'm not talking about, it's not number one in some obscure niche. It's a massive niche that every single person's heard of. So it's number one in the world for that. And the other site is in the top 10 somewhere. So, it's a good starting point, and you can use the momentum to increase the traffic simply by creating more content. Because if you use a tool like SEMrush, you'll see that it's number one for search traffic, but it doesn't have that long a tail. It's got a strong long tail, but if you see its competitors who have less traffic, they have way, way, way more keywords. The reason for that is because they have more content, and that's just because, again, I've been lazy. So if the user just hired someone, Upwork or something, and got more of those keywords, very easily, they start ranking because it's the number one in the niche. They would start ranking for those other terms and probably double, triple the content within 6 months. I just haven't gone around to that, but that's the most obvious way to increase the revenue would just increase the traffic. The other way would be that besides AdSense or banner ads, and this is where it's hard not to reveal the exact niche, but because it's the industry leader on the web, I feel like AdSense is good, but it's very generic. I haven't really gotten into that niche and made deals with people with huge businesses, some $100 million businesses, some small businesses. There's so many businesses in this niche that you can make deals, whether to have, to promote their businesses because it gets so much huge traffic, to sell their products, to have your own products. Again, it's hard not to be more specific, but the two huge opportunities would be to offer another type of revenue source, which I see is massive opportunity. AdSense, honestly, is not the best way to monetize these sites, although it's working extremely well. And the other way would be to create more content, and you would start ranking for those other keywords.
Are you doing anything currently with email lists or email marketing?
No. I'm not going to feel good after this conversation, I can tell. But I'm not. And the business has 11,000 active emails. I've never sent an email out, but I sent a test one out a few months ago because it used to have a lot more emails, and I wanted to make sure that they were still active. So I sent out an email saying that they could unsubscribe, if they didn't want to be on the list anymore because it's been dead and 11,000 are the ones that are, super primed. Even one of the advertisers has said to me, I'd like to advertise on your newsletter. That really appeals to me. And I just have never gone around in the last few months to making a newsletter, but that's obviously another way to both have more recurring traffic and to have another revenue source.
So like you said, you haven't actually actively tried to do anything with the email list. So first off, then why did you create the list? And secondly, how did you create the list? Like, where did you get all the emails from?
Well, I didn't create, it was when I bought the site, they had a free, like you see on almost every site, they had a free ebook that you can get in this niche by giving the email address. So they had already started that process. And like I said, a few months ago, I flushed it to just the active ones to make sure that they were still quality and have the 11,000 is left from that. It used to be way, way higher. But essentially, when I bought the site, I still was collecting those email addresses, again, just because I was too lazy to turn it off and I knew that there was potential there. But I've never acted on it. And that's why I have them.
Associated with the business and included in the sale are some social media accounts. Like we mentioned earlier, there are 2 Pinterest accounts, 1 Facebook, 1 Twitter, and 1 Instagram. So have you done anything major with social media?
I have not. I've experimented with all of them. I could say that the one that makes the most sense and has biggest potential would be Pinterest because it's fashion related. And I've done experiments with that and it's done quite well. But again, I never really put in any sort of strategy for that. I guess I'm old school and I understood the value of Google traffic, which is by far the number one source for these sites. And I experimented with Pinterest and Facebook, but I haven't done much at all with any social media. But Pinterest, I've seen more from just looking at others in the niche. I know that Pinterest has massive potential. So I did experiment with it a tiny bit and got really good results, but didn't really have the time or inclination to really, research how to do it.
So the sites, like you said, make some of the revenue from Adsense. Can you detail exactly what Adsense is for someone who's unfamiliar with it?
Adsense is owned by Google. The number one way Google makes money is with AdWords, AdSense. AdSense is where they pay publishers, such as myself, to put ads on their websites. Those are those banners that you see when you go to a website and you'll see a square or a rectangle or a text and you click on it and it takes you somewhere relevant and to another site. Those are ads that Google pays me for. And Google gets paid by the advertisers who put that car ad on my site, and then they pay me some of it and Google gets the rest. So that's how AdSense, it's the most reliable and safest probably way to monetize consistently. It has its pros and cons like anything else, but it's extremely reliable because you're dealing with Google. And because Google is able to monetize any kind of keyword, you don't have to worry about being too niche. They've got you covered.
We've talked about some of the opportunities available for a potential new business owner. Are there any risks associated with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
No, there are no obvious risks. There's the typical risks of nothing's a guarantee, but there are no big risks. It's a popular niche that's growing. It's the industry leader. It's got very stable revenue sources that aren't going to go anywhere unless Google goes out of business. I guess that would be a risk, but of course you can replace it with another advertiser. It's very strong in search traffic. Of course, a risk could always be that Google changes their algorithm. But I think one of the strengths on my business, as opposed to a lot of other businesses that are sold, is that it's doing exactly what Google wants. It's real original content that is being created completely organically. It's being shared. If you look at stats, it's being shared like crazy by real people, which is what Google likes, and by real blogs, which is what Google likes, and some experts in the niche, which is what Google likes. There's no black hat. There's no gray hat. There's the very minimum of white hat, which is our terms for, search engine optimization. It's all been done exactly as Google likes it. So it's a small risk as there is, but, of course, every website has risk, but in my opinion, it's the lowest kind of risk.
So you feel that there are the risks that are associated with, just any online business, but you don't feel that this particular business has any risks that are specific to this niche or this business in general?
Yeah, I think it's way less risk averse than most businesses because it's doing everything by the book. It's a huge niche. It's not a tiny niche. And it's a niche that's getting more and more and more popular. So you don't have to worry about it, being, for example, a specific kind of coffee machine that's going out of fashion. That's not what this is at all. This is a huge niche that's getting bigger and bigger. So like you said, there's the risks of any business, but there are no red flags or risks for this business at all.
You mentioned the content that is available on both of the sites. And as you said before, they're completely independent and the traffic is independent and all of that between the two sites. So where is the content coming from? You said you outsource that?
Yeah. So the content is outsourced and those are what the expenses are. The writer gets a particular topic to write about. And then they write the posts. Of course, anyone who buys the site, I'll go into more detail. But I do this about once every 6 months. I'll spend an hour looking to see what kind of content I want written, and then another hour hiring people to write it. And then they come back like a week later with the content, and I'll spend like 10 minutes going over it to make sure that it's good. And then if it's good, I'll rehire them again 6 months later and then have that much more confidence in them. So it might even take me like 2 minutes to go over it next time. And this is where the content comes from.
How much content is added week to week or month to month?
So again, this is another opportunity. It's not consistent, which is stupid. So whoever buys the site should make it consistent. When I've done it consistently, I've added a piece of content like once a week. And that's really had a positive impact on the traffic starting to climb. And then when I don't do it for like a month or two, then the traffic plateaus. It doesn't go down, but it doesn't go up because there's not new content. So it's a hard question I'd say like, I would recommend doing an article every week or every 2 weeks. I've had months where I do one a week and then months where there's none at all.
It certainly sounds like it's a business that doesn't require much effort for maintenance. If that was all that you were concerned with, or if you wanted to grow it, there are certainly opportunities to grow it. Like you mentioned, doing more with email marketing or social media marketing and things like that, if that's something that you're very good at as a potential buyer. But I feel like the most important question when looking at if you want to purchase this business or not is the profit. And as we mentioned before, the net profit of $2,968 is built on a 12-month average. Is looking over the past year, is that pretty stable throughout the year, or are there months that have a spike and others that have a dip? How's the traffic look?
The traffic is pretty stable. It goes up and down a little. Generally speaking, if you look at it from a week, it's higher on the weekends, then starts to come down during the week and then goes back up in the weekends. But that's just, the slope of almost every business. Seasonality wise, it's pretty stable. The traffic has gone down or up in the last month, mostly because I wasn't updating the site or not. But I've had them, especially the larger the two sites I've had for 2 years, the traffic has gone up and then down and then up. But if you look at it from a year perspective, it's consistent. So to your question of the traffic, it's been consistent. And if you were to add more content, then it would go up. But I haven't been good at that.
Which again is only due to lack of time. There's no reason that someone who is very motivated to grow this business and has the time, there's no reason that this person couldn't come in and grow it more.
Right. For me, these sites have not been my prime focus. What I love about them, which is a strength, is that they are so passive. So if someone wants to buy them and be as passive as I am and put an hour in every week, then they'll probably stay about the same. But if you were to put more time in, then you're going to obviously get the results back. I haven't had the time or the motivation to do that. But when I have had time, I have seen the results. And you can see that if you look at the traffic, you can see where I've been publishing more, where the traffic has been going up. It's pretty much correlated almost exactly. I just haven't had the time to be consistent with it.
So let's say that someone comes in and they like what they see, they like the potential for growth, and they think the numbers look good and everything, and they want to, and now it's time to structure a deal. When negotiating with a potential buyer, would you commit to a non-compete?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how much support are you willing to offer buyers in getting through that transition?
Well, without getting myself in trouble, I would say that I'm willing to give as much support as they need. Of course, that those have limitations, and I guess we would have to work those out. But I would be willing to go above and beyond whatever the average is of empire flippers. If they want to ask me questions, a year or 2 years from now, I'd be happy to do it.
And that could be done on Skype or email.
Yeah, Skype, email, phone, whatever is convenient to them.
I'm sure that that is very reassuring for someone who's looking at this and thinking, well, what if I run into problems down the line,
Yeah, well, for me, these aren't sites that were created 6 months ago in a little tiny niche to flip. These are sites that have been around a long time in a great niche. And, they're sites that I would love to see the next person succeed at. I'm not going anywhere, and I have a good reputation, and I'm happy to give as much support as possible. Or even if they just want to brainstorm with me, I'd love to do that with them too, to help them.
Obviously, what we all want here is that someone comes along and offers you 100% cash offer of what you're looking for. But if that didn't happen, would you be open to conversations about other payment methods, like, for instance, an earnout?
Yes, I would be open to it.
Awesome. So I have one final question for you. But before we get to that, I want to run through that quick summary of the business again. It was one of the sites was built in May of 2013, the other in May of 2015. The business has a monthly revenue of $3,029, expenses of $61 to make for a net profit of $2,968, which is built on a 12-month average. Included in the sale of this business are the domains, site files, and social media accounts, 2 Pinterest accounts, 1 Facebook, 1 Twitter, and 1 Instagram account. Joshua, before I let you go here, first off, thank you for making the time to get this done today. I really appreciate it. You were very on the ball with getting this scheduled. But before I let you go, what is your best 30-second pitch on why someone should purchase the business?
My best 30-second pitch. Well, I think that they're fantastic sites. Of course, the question in your mind is, why are you getting rid of them? And for me, the reason is because I need the cash to buy more real estate. But they're great sites. They're just not making me $95,000 in 1 month. And that's what I need right now, is more of the cash up front. But it would give you an instant seat at the table at one of the most popular niches in the world right now. Without going into details, just if you put the deposit down, you'll see what I mean. But it makes you an instant superstar in that niche. So I don't actually know the niche very well. But if you have any passion for this whatsoever, you'll become a big shot overnight. And it's really exciting, all the things you could do. If you don't care about that and you just want to have it passive as possible, then they're very consistent sites that have been around for years and years and years. And they're really simple to run. So if you want it to be super passive, you can go that route. If you want to 10x the revenue and put in a few weeks' work, there's so much opportunity here.
It really sounds like there is a lot of potential for growth here. And I'm sure that a potential buyer will see that. Thank you, Joshua, for taking the time here with me today.
It's my pleasure. Again, to put this in context with the hurricane, I'll be thinking of you. I'm sorry. Sorry that we had to do this right now. But yeah, it's my pleasure. And I'm happy to answer any questions that any potential buyers have.
Just to give a little context there, I told Joshua before the call, I'm located in Florida and we're recording this the day before the hurricane's supposed to hit. So hopefully everything goes all right. But thank you. We're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're watching this on YouTube and want more information, the link will be below the video that will take you to this marketplace listing. If you're watching this on the listing site and want more information, become a depositor today. All you have to do is click the button, make a refundable deposit, and you will be given everything you need to review this business. Have a great day.